Why, hello there, how are you today? Awesome Soul here, and welcome back to Garrison Archangel. I say back because if you somehow haven't seen it, I did do a video on this game already, sort of like a first impressions. So if you kind of missed that and want to know a bit more about what this game is about, then go check that out. Because today, we are going to go over the future of this game. And as you can tell by the title, I personally think it is going to be rather bright. Now, quick backstory here. When I made the original video, I didn't really know a whole lot about the game, and I didn't know a lot about the development plans for the game. But luckily, somebody on Discord clued me into this, and I now know that the future for this game is jam-packed with a lot of features. Like, they already have a lot of things planned out, and they were saying in this live stream they have a lot of the weapons basically ready to go. They're just in the process of balance testing them. So there's going to be a pretty solid feed of new items coming to the game. So there's always something new to try out. Although it's a lot more than just weapons as well, which is pretty cool. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go through this. How this video is going to work is basically me going through their current plans for the game, their roadmap, if you will, and giving my thoughts and opinions on them. And this is also there to highlight this for you, as I know I certainly didn't know about this, so chances are you didn't know about this either. And the video itself only has 177 views, so the vast majority of you do not know about this. Anyways, they've divided this up into multiple days, and if you would like to view this for yourself, link is in the description. But without further ado, let's get into their April plans. All of these should be implemented before the end of April. They want to have private rooms as well as a chat system, invite from Steam, rematch, and other quality of life improvements for better online experience. That's always good because the online experience definitely needs a bit of help. Though the bug fixes and netcode that they said have actually already been implemented, or at least partially. This is the first pass, if I understand, and they are going to constantly improve the online multiplayer. That's what a lot of the focus is for most of their plan, it seems. Another good one in April is they plan to implement a codex. For those that don't know what that means, it's basically a dictionary of terms almost. So if you're tweaking your mech, for example, and you see a term that you don't quite understand, you'll just open up the codex, look up that word, and learn how that stat affects your mech. And last but not least, for game editions anyway, in April, that is going to be 2 new weapons. So 1 hand weapon and 1 back weapon. Though we do now know what these are going to be. So a handheld missile launcher and a what appears to be giant single-shot missile tube. Sort of like a giant torpedo that fires off from your back. That one seems like it will be pretty devastating, though if it is indeed a single-fire weapon, much like the railgun, it's going to pack an immense punch. But of course the big drawback there is, since it's only firing 1 projectile, there's a possibility that they're going to dodge your shot, and therefore making your total damage 0. Whereas if you had a rapid-fire weapon, then you could go and possibly at least get 1 bullet off, and that's better than nothing. So there's trade-offs there, though I have had quite a bit of luck with the railgun recently. I do quite like that one. Moving on from there, we come to their plans for the month of May. Starting it off, we have even more weapons. So they have 2 weapons planned again, 1 ranged weapon and 1 melee weapon, both of which are handheld weapons. But at the time, we currently don't know what these are going to be. I'll keep you posted though when we find out. More internals are also coming. These are basically stat boosting chips that you can implement into your build. I'm not sure about you guys for what you would want to see, but at least one that comes to mind, for me anyway, would be a projectile speed internal. So basically increase the speed of slower projectiles. And it could kind of scale almost. So fast projectiles wouldn't really gain that much of a buff, but the slower the projectile naturally is, the more of a buff it would get. Or maybe faster recharge for certain things. I'm sure they have a bunch planned, as they're not too difficult to implement, as you don't really need to model anything, you're just sort of tweaking stats. Though, of course, you do have to balance things. Next one is a horde mode. Yes, you heard correctly, a horde mode. So this will have you fighting off waves of enemies. And this is one that I'm actually pretty excited for. It's going to mix up the game quite a bit, and depending on how extensive it is, I might be playing that more than anything else. Still in May, they also plan to have a new map, online free-for-all, survival, and other modes, as opposed to what currently I believe is just simply online elimination. There's also going to be a second wave of bug fixes and netcode improvement. And to finish off for the month of May, there will be a balance update. This is the first balance update, at least. In the live stream, they addressed quite a few things that they want to cover. Two of the big problem ones that stood out to me, at least, was the scythe, like the forward scythe hook, that seemed to be rather overpowered, as well as the drill lance. Seemed to be a bit of a problem as well. And yeah, I can definitely see that. While they are fun to use, yeah, they are a little bit overpowered. Next up, we have their plan for June. This one, a little bit more simple, however still great additions nonetheless. Now, they say new weapons, so weapons plural, most likely 2, maybe more, but it seems like we're just getting 2 every month, so probably just 2. There's also new maps, plural, which is cool. Hopefully we get more hazard maps, because arena maps are nice, but I like things that sort of mix it up a little bit, like the lava map or the carrier ship. Also, they plan to have dedicated servers. Well, they actually have 2 points here. So they want to have actual dedicated servers on their end, and they also want to have a dedicated server application. If I remember correctly, as I'm just reading off notes here, I believe this was to let individual players run their own servers. And the last big thing in June is yet another passover of bug fixes and netcode improvement. Really hammering at home here that they want this game to be bug-free and a smooth online multiplayer experience. Which brings us to July, where they finally introduce matchmaking. So, no longer will you have to sit in the lobby and wait forever. It seems like with this matchmaking they plan, you will actually be able to queue for a game and it will automatically match you up with people. Very nice there. Also, more new weapons and more new maps, both of which are plural, which again is very nice. The more the merrier. They also plan a UI rework as well, which if you don't know what that means, it just means user interface. UI, user interface. Basically how you interact with the game. And it's going to be another good month for balancing and bug fixes because they plan to do both of those as well. So if you're somehow not following along exactly, this is the second balance update. Basically, what they want to do is let things settle in after the first one, and, you know, they're adding more weapons and stuff. So they need time to figure out what's overpowered and then balance it from there. Heading on over to their August plans, it's a little bit more subdued than the other ones, but that's for good reason, because later on, they have some pretty big things. So, August brings new weapons, new maps, and, really cool here, at least for those who like designing their mech decals, and patterns as well. So if you want to have camouflage, or maybe digital cyber lines, or a nice little smiley face, I assume you could probably do something like that, but their exact plans aren't detailed past they want to add patterns and decals, though it seems like they have a rudimentary version of this already in the works, so that's pretty cool. And once again, you guessed it, more bug fixes and more netcode improvement. Heading on over to September, now we have, you guessed it, more new weapons and more new maps. But also, a big new one here is profile customization, which is in preparation for something happening next month. And I don't really need to say it anymore, but bug fixes and netcode improvements, and also a third balance update. October. So, October seems to be a pretty big one, and it brings with it, well, 2 new weapons and more new maps. Though interesting, they actually specify here 2 new weapons. Instead of just saying new weapons plural, it's 2 new weapons. I don't know why, but anyways. Also, new maps as well, and then this one. So this is kind of building off what they had implemented in the last month's update, and this is pretty huge. So, leveling, leaderboards, achievements, they write in beta, and then a virtual currency and shop. Though, don't worry, from what they were saying in the live stream, all of this is earned by actually playing the game, and you'll be using it to unlock certain cosmetic variants and color schemes, decals, that sort of thing. So those are the 2 big things here. And then, obviously, bug fixes and netcode improvements, but also online profile improvements, whatever those specifically mean. And then, interestingly, we get the final personnel balance update, or at least this is how they've laid out their plan so far. All of these could be changed and tweaked a little bit. The farther away this is, the more likely they will be changed, but who knows? Everything might stay the same. Alright, so from what it seems like, at least based on their current plan, November is actually their full release date. So when the game actually comes out of early access and then into a main release. Though they will continue to support the game afterwards. So their plan for November includes a quote complete feature list, though they will still be supporting the game. This is just basically the big main chunk of the game, and then they can build on top of that, if that makes sense. They'll also have the shop/gacha implemented. So think of it like, you know, those little capsules that you can get at like the mall, for example. You'd put a quarter in, you'd get something out, and what it seems like is they haven't quite settled on that, like if you're going to simply buy them or if you're going to get them randomly, and both of those, depending on which one they go with, or maybe if they go with both of them, that sort of plays into the whole inventory system. There's also going to be a level up system with ranks and rewards. There is actually, well, not exactly. I mean, if you log into the game now and take a look at your player icon, there is like an experience bar, but you can't actually gain any levels, at least currently. But in November, you will be able to. There's also going to be player icons. Hopefully this means customizable avatars. There's also flares as well. They also say there's going to be mechs with patterns and decals. This, I assume, means there's going to be more patterns and decals added. And then this plays into the shop they were talking about before, where playing the game will get you coins, etc., and will allow you to buy a cosmetic variant of each body part. So they say each weapon and body part has at least one premium cosmetic counterpart for sale. So presumably this means they have the exact same stats, they just look a little bit fancier. And lastly, they plan on having online and offline for all duel, elimination, survival, and horde game modes. So basically they want to make sure you can play any mode with your friend or any mode by yourself. And there we have it. That is their plan, at least for the build up to the exit of early access. What do you guys think about this? I think it seems like a pretty solid game plan, and the implementation of actual matchmaking partnered with the whole shop system and leveling up, etc., is leading me to believe that this game has a pretty solid chance of actually making it up there with other indie games. Maybe the next Robocraft in terms of indie success? Maybe, maybe not. Only time will tell. But yes, now it's your time to give me your feedback. What do you think this game has potential-wise? Is it good? Is it bad? Are you interested in this game? Would you like to see more? Or just simply comment on anything you saw today. If you're interested in more Garrison Archangel coverage, be sure to subscribe to the channel to make sure you do not miss any future content updates. But yes, with that, I of course have been the Awesome Soul. I thank you all so very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.